Have you ever spent hours searching for something, then finally given up after failing to find it anywhere, only for it to turn up days or even weeks later? We all have. The fact that things can seemingly vanish without a trace and then reappear out of nowhere remains one of life's smaller mysteries. But sometimes the gap between vanishing and resurfacing stretches far beyond a few weeks or months. Sometimes it spans thousands of years, and that's what you're about to see in this video. Number 15. Guadalupe Woman Skeleton. The finding of the Guadalupe lady still confounds science. Found embedded in solid limestone on the Caribbean island of Guadalupe in the early 19th century, the skeleton appeared to belong to a fully grown human female. Now the problem is that the rock in which she was entombed is over 28 million years old, far older than humanity itself. British forces seized the island from the French in 1810 and sent the mysterious slab back to England. There, scientists verified that the remains belonged to a lady in her early 30s, missing her head and feet. The geological formation is consistent with the Miocene era, which adds another layer of confusion. If the rock formed naturally over millions of years, how did the skeleton end up sealed inside it? Creationists of the time latched onto the discovery as evidence for a global flood narrative, but mainstream geology has never supported that view. Despite advances in dating methods and forensic tools, the skeleton remains an unexplained riddle locked in prehistoric stone. Number 14. World SIP's oldest Christian letter from Roman Egypt. We've seen how a Buddhist scroll shed light on early teachings. Now here's something just as significant for Christians. This is the oldest known Christian letter, handwritten by an early believer in Roman Egypt around the year 300. The letter, from a man named Arianus to his brother Paulus, isn't overly dramatic. He writes about their parents' health and casually asks if Paulus can bring back fish liver sauce. What sets the letter apart is the sign-off. "I pray that you fare well in the Lord." This phrase, pulled directly from the New Testament, makes the document the earliest known Christian greeting in personal correspondence. Until now, scholars believed Christians during this period were outcasts who kept their faith hidden. But both Arianus and Paulus appear to have held public positions. That either means they concealed their beliefs, or that early Christians were more socially integrated than we've assumed. Either way, this simple letter, written on papyrus, gives rare insight into Christian life in a Roman world. Number 13. Tiwanaku offerings beneath Lake Titicaca. The Andes have revealed countless significant archaeological wonders over the decades, so when a group of archaeologists labeled a recent find in Lake Titicaca as exceptional, it genuinely meant something rare. 16 feet beneath the lake's surface, near the island of the Sun, lies a submerged reef that once held deep ceremonial importance to the Tiwanaku civilization. Divers recovered sculpted puma figures, carved stone animals, medallions, and delicately cut gold leaves sewn into leather. Llama bones were found in abundance, strongly pointing toward sacrificial rites likely performed in honor of the Tiwanaku sun deity between 800 and 1000 AD. Perhaps the most unexpected objects were oyster shells, native to Ecuador's coastline over 1,000 miles away, suggesting an advanced network of long-distance trade. The lake's cold, undisturbed waters acted as a natural vault, preserving these ancient objects perfectly for over a millennium. These findings are a rare glimpse into a belief system and culture that treated this high-altitude lake as a sacred ground and ceremonial center. Number 12. Triceratops skull, discovered in the Badlands. Harrison Duran, a 23-year-old student, wasn't expecting a life-changing moment when he joined Professor Michael K. Jelen for a routine dig in California's Badlands in July. But as they examined what looked like petrified wood sticking out of the dirt, they realized they'd found something far more important, a 65-million-year-old Triceratops skull. Once fully exposed, the fossil was named Alice and turned out to be one of the most complete Triceratops skulls ever found in the region. Duran, who's loved dinosaurs since childhood visits to science museums, suddenly saw a childhood dream come true. The site where Alice was uncovered has produced several significant dinosaur fossils before, but this discovery stands out. The skull has since been moved to a secure location for analysis and preservation. Scientists are now working to examine its structure in detail while ensuring it remains intact. For Duran, the moment was more than academic, it was personal. And for paleontology, Alice is another major clue in the dinosaur puzzle. Number 11. Neolithic settlement unearthed near Jerusalem. As much as archaeologists enjoy uncovering weapons and pottery, what they truly seek are discoveries that shift history itself. That's what happened when a government development project 3 miles outside Jerusalem exposed the remains of a massive 9,000-year-old Neolithic settlement. This ancient community sat on fertile land and captured the moment when humans were transitioning from hunter-gatherers to organized agricultural life. Until this dig, there was no proof that any Neolithic settlements had ever existed in this part of the Levant. But now, the valley where this site rests must be recognized as the earliest known evidence of human life in Judea. The excavation was quickly taken over by the Israel Antiquities Authority, who intend to study it further before construction can resume. The site's size and structure suggest an established society with evolving social systems. It rewrites the known history of early civilization in this region and proves that humans were living, farming, and organizing here long before anyone had imagined. Number days. Madara Rider. The Madara Rider is one of Bulgaria's most baffling rock carvings. Etched into a sheer cliff face more than 70 feet above the ground in the village of Madara near Shumen, the carving dates back roughly 1,300 years. It depicts a mounted horseman spearing a lion, with a dog and eagle trailing behind, a powerful scene, but carved in a location so inaccessible that modern researchers still don't fully understand how it was completed. No scaffolding or tools from the era suggest such a feat was possible, yet the carving remains. The inscriptions that surround the rider date it to the early 8th century and link it to pagan rituals before Christianity arrived in the region. Archaeologists believe it marked a sacred site, possibly related to early Bulgarian rulers or deities. While its artistry isn't particularly refined, the scale and placement give it undeniable weight. Today, the Madara Rider is a national symbol, even featured in Bulgarian currency. But the reasons behind its creation remain an enigma. Alright, now, let's move to number 9. Ice Age animal remains beneath LA subway. Riding the LA subway today might feel chaotic, but beneath the La Brea station, it's not just commuters. There's prehistoric history buried below. During excavation at the site, a remarkable cache of Ice Age remains surfaced: saber-toothed cats, enormous ground sloths, and the most striking find of all, a complete woolly mammoth skeleton nicknamed Hayden. Paleontologists once assumed the LA basin was submerged under ocean water, but mammoths aren't swimmers, and Hayden's presence calls that into question. As digging reached 15 feet below ground, more fossils began to appear, including the jawbone of a dire wolf, famous from pop culture, but very real. Experts now believe the area was once a tar pit that trapped these large animals, preserving them for thousands of years. The excavation has flipped old assumptions on their head, proving this part of LA was once a hunting ground and a death trap for megafauna. With every layer pulled up, the ground reveals more of the city's ancient past buried right beneath its streets. Number 8. Gandaran Buddhist scroll in Afghanistan. Religious texts from ancient traditions are often rewritten and reinterpreted over the centuries, which makes the discovery of an original manuscript especially valuable. For Buddhists, the Gandaran scrolls provide unmatched insight into the foundational principles of their faith. One particular scroll, nearly 2,000 years old, was unearthed in a region of Afghanistan that's slated to be developed by Chinese mining firms. It contains the teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha and recounts the lineage and biographies of 13 Buddhas who preceded him. Most scrolls of this kind are heavily fragmented, but this one remains around 80% complete. Written in Sanskrit on strips of tree bark and bound tightly, it took experts years to safely unroll it. The manuscript is far too fragile for public display, but has been preserved digitally for scholarly access. Its discovery, from a remote hillside, captures an irreplaceable record of Buddhist tradition at its roots, before centuries of translation, adaptation, and loss blurred the original voices. Number 7. Stone Age child burial in Finland. The death of a child has always been a heartbreaking event, even thousands of years ago. That sentiment is visible in a remarkable Stone Age burial uncovered in Majunsuo, Finland, in November 2022. Dating back nearly 8,000 years, the child was laid to rest with extraordinary care, wrapped in fur and plant fibers, and placed atop a bed of bird feathers. Traces of these materials were identified in the soil using microscopic analysis. The grave stood out due to its vivid red ochre color, a pigment commonly used in prehistoric burials, though its symbolic meaning remains unclear. Little remains of the child's body aside from a few teeth, suggesting they were between 3 and 10 years old at the time of death. The feathers found in the grave are the oldest ever discovered in Finland. As for the fur, it most likely came from a dog or wolf. This quiet resting place is more than just a burial, it's a deeply human moment preserved across millennia. Number 6. Ice Age weapons in Hukava Cave. Life during the Ice Age was unforgiving. With brutal winters and daily survival struggles, humans needed more than shelter, they needed weapons. Inside Slovakia's Hukava Cave, archaeologists found a set of stone blades that paint a picture of life around 15,000 years ago. Likely once attached to wooden shafts, the blades would have served as essential tools in a hunter's arsenal. They were discovered in the charred remains of a hearth, indicating that the cave once acted as a temporary refuge. Archaeologists had been hunting for signs of ancient human life in this region for years, and this marks their earliest evidence yet. The cave has also turned up World War II Nice-era coins, hinting it served as a shelter again millennia later. But these blades, primitive, brutal, and efficient, are the raw remnants of survival. They reveal a timeline of human resilience, stretching from prehistoric hunters fighting the cold to soldiers hiding from bombs. Number 5. Nimi Punit. Nimi Punit, nestled in Belize's Toledo district, stands as one of the best preserved classic Maya sites in Central America. Often called the Top Hat site due to the prominent headdress carved onto its largest stele, it thrived from the 5th to the 8th century and once supported a population of around 7,000. Evidence suggests the site was first settled in the 4th century, peaking in influence before being abandoned, like many other Maya cities, soon after the 8th century began. What caused the widespread collapse of Maya urban centers remains unclear, and Nimi Punit holds few clues. In 1976, it became the first ancient site in Belize to be formally excavated by foreign archaeologists. Among the artifacts found were large jade pendants and intricately painted pottery bearing Maya glyphs. Yet, when the site was abandoned, most personal items were taken, leaving behind only stone structures and silent monuments. Today, its towering stelae remain, preserving messages written in a language that still hasn't fully given up its secrets. Number 4. Teldan Stele. Discovered in 1993 at Teldan in northern Israel, the Teldan stele remains one of the most hotly debated inscriptions tied to biblical archaeology. Written in Aramaic, the broken basalt stone references a king of Aram defeating Jehoram, son of Ahab, and mentions the house of David. Some scholars see this as the first extra-biblical reference to King David, offering rare historical backing for a figure long confined to religious texts. Others argue that David may have been a common name or that House of David doesn't necessarily refer to a specific monarch. The stone fragment was found by archaeologist Avraham Baran, who excavated the Teldan site for decades. Despite the debates, the artifact was significant enough to be moved to the Israel Museum in Jerusalem. Whether it confirms a biblical dynasty or not, the stele shows how fragile the boundary is between myth, memory, and archaeological fact. It's one of those pieces where meaning hinges not just on what's written, but on how you read it. Number 3. Roman stylus with sarcastic inscription. If you've ever brought back a souvenir that reads something like, "I went to New York and all I got was this lousy shirt," then congratulations, you've echoed one of the oldest jokes in human history. A nearly identical message was etched into a Roman stylus found near London's Cannon Street station. Its inscription reads, "I have come from the city. I bring you a welcome gift with a sharp point so that you may remember me. I ask, if fortune allows, that I may give as generously though the road is long and my wallet is empty." The meaning: I came all this way and could only afford this pen because I'm broke. Dated to around AD 70, this witty little artifact was created during the early Roman occupation of Britain. Roman relics are found in England quite frequently, but something this personal and humorous is a rarity. It's not just an object, it's a sarcastic reminder that ancient folks also used humor to cope with low funds. Number 2. Atoan Sali rock paintings. The Atoan Sali rock paintings are among the most mysterious prehistoric artworks in Europe. They sit an improbable 33 feet above the current waterline, painted in a time when the lake was even higher. That alone makes their creation baffling. Officially, Finland recognizes 70 images in the series, though some researchers argue there are more. Most paintings are smeared across a cliff face that vaguely resembles a human head, likely not a coincidence. Dating back around 5,000 years, the artwork includes abstract symbols, elk, humans, and handprints. Artifacts retrieved from the nearby lake, including amber figurines of Ukkonen and Akka, the old Finnish gods, suggest that this was a sacred site used for ritual purposes. How people access the painting surface remains unsolved, especially without climbing tools. The combination of location, symbolism, and nearby offerings paints a picture of a ceremonial hub. Yet the full story, who they were, and what they truly believed, has long since vanished with the waves. Number 1. Petroglyph Provincial Park. On the eastern coast of Vancouver Island lies Petroglyph Provincial Park, a site carved with more than 100 ancient petroglyphs. Discovered near the Nanaimo River estuary in 1948, the carvings are believed to date as far back as the 10th century, possibly even earlier. The figures include humans, sea creatures, animals, and spiritual beings, offering insight into the cultural beliefs of the Coast Salish and Snuneymuxw First Nations peoples. Petroglyph sites were often created where natural forces were believed to be strong, like waterfalls, rock formations, or river mouths. Although there's no waterfall or large stone outcrop at the site, the presence of the estuary may have carried a similar spiritual weight. These images weren't made for decoration, they served ceremonial, spiritual, or cultural purposes passed down across generations. Despite decades of study, their exact meanings are still debated. But the site remains protected, not just for its historical value, but for the living connection it maintains with indigenous communities who still recognize its sacred importance today. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you very soon.